Self-made millionaire, 79
I was
years
married
old.
at 21 to a woman. That lasted 8 years. It shouldn't have lasted that long. I cried on my wedding night. I mean, something was off. If I had been honest, I would have probably ended it at the start. People who don't know
Wow.
themselves, all they know is self-image, they end up making the right decision for the wrong person, the one they thought they were.
But what have you done in your life to get to this point and feel as good as you do?
I went through a process of disillusion. A lot of things made me happy for a little while, but nothing seemed to last. And so I started asking, well, what is this thing called happiness? The search only reinforces the sense of dilemma. The happiest people I know are focused on.
In this video, I'll be interviewing Dan Millman, a 79-year-old best-selling author of 18 books, most notably known for writing The Peaceful Warrior, which has sold over 1 million copies worldwide. Dan's story is the perfect example for those of you who wonder what it takes to be successful. Today, he shares life lessons from all of its ups and downs. These are some of the most powerful lessons you'll ever learn in life. So I really think without further ado, you're going to learn a lot from this one. How old are you?
79 years old.
What does it feel like to be 79?
Hard to describe because I may not be
Good question.
typical 79-year-old. I do notice things that I didn't when I was 40 or 50 or 60. I didn't feel like I was aging at all until I was about 55.
How old would you say you feel mentally?
Mentally, probably 50 or 60, 70 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the more I ask this question, the more people who are around your age or older feel a lot younger mentally than they do physically, which is like a little scary to think about.
Well, it's true. We're all young inside, looking out at the world like wondering what happened.
But what have you done in your life to get to this point and feel as good as you do?
I've practiced numerous martial arts during my life, and that gave me certain disciplines of breathing and relaxation. I believe that older folks need more exercise than younger people, but they need a different kind of exercise. So my wife and I both stay. She's only a young thing at 73, but we both stay very active. So I'm a vegetarian, but do I preach that? No, it's not a religion. One of the things that I core to the way I live and what I teach is that there's no best exercise system, there's no best diet, there's no best teacher or philosophy or book or religion or path. There's only the best for each of us at a given time in our life. So life's an experiment. We have to find out what works for us.
How do I do that? I would say that there's so much noise in the world right now.
It's true.
And trends, and people latch on to what they see they think works, but what might not actually be good for them. How did you figure out what is good for you at a certain point?
Self-trust and self-knowledge evolves over time. People just can't graduate from college and say, I know myself, because it takes testing.
Oh, that's probably the worst time to feel like you know yourself. But that's when they tell you you should have known yourself, or you should know yourself, and you should know what you want by then. That's when most people feel depressed, lost, the sense of community they had, all the clubbing and all of that they were doing, gone, vanished, and now the real world begins, completely lost.
Testing in the face of the world. I view daily life as a form of spiritual weight training. You don't lift any weights, you don't get any stronger. So adversity has its benefits. Sometimes climbing out of a dark hole can give us the strength to climb the mountain. And many people need reminders of that at difficult times in their lives. So how do you do that? How do you come to find your own way? People who don't know themselves, all they know is self-image. And if they don't know themselves, they end up making the right decision for the wrong person, the one they thought they were.
Yeah. What do we need to know about how you grew up and your childhood to understand the version of you that we are with today?
Well, some people view me as a quote-unquote spiritual teacher, or a teacher about the bigger picture, and they think my athletic career as a gymnast and all-around gymnastics was a preparation for the work I do, but actually it was the start of the work I do, because athletics taught me universal laws about process, doing things step by step, about choices, responsibility. That's why I tell people today, don't go for success, go for excellence, because you can control excellence. You can't control success. We can't control outcomes in our life, whether we sink a putt, make a basket, find love, or succeed in business. That's not in our direct control, but by making a good effort over time, we're more likely to increase the odds of getting what we'd like. That's what I've learned, and that's how I live. I had an interest in the big picture because I went through a process of disillusion. The Hindus call it neti, 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 not this, not this, not this. A lot of things made me happy for a little while, but nothing seemed to last. And so I started asking, well, what is this thing called happiness? What are the rules of life? Things like Mark Twain's quip about, I've had many troubles in my life, most of which never happened. And we laugh at that because that's true for most of us. Most of our troubles are past or future. Regrets, anxieties. In the present moment, we just have this to handle. Most of us can handle the present moment.
Were you close with your parents growing up?
Yeah. Actually, I was. I look back on them with a lot of love.
What's a piece of advice that they were giving you constantly when you were younger?
Good
Or
question.
maybe a life lesson that you still think about to this day?
Well, my dad valued health a lot, and he loved to play tennis. He said, you know what I love about the game of tennis, Dan? I said, what, Dad? He said, every shot makes somebody happy. And that was like a light bulb moment, you know? In fact, I think a fundamental shift that we need to make in order to survive and thrive as a human species is we have to shift from a competitive mindset to a collaborative mindset. Rather than
Deep.
what's in it for me, what's in it for me, shifting to what's for the
What's in
highest
for
good of all
us?
concerned. That's a big leap. That's a big ask. Well, for example, in the game of tennis, it's like a non-competitive martial art.
Yeah.
A very aggressive, assertive sport. And the idea is to make the person on the other side of the net, your opponent, fail. If they fail to return the ball, you win the point. But when I play, I view that person as my student and my teacher. I can't improve without them. I might as well use a wall to hit the ball against. But they'll show me my weak spots. So I'm actually grateful to them. I'm still going to play my best. In fact, there's less tension or less upset about a bad line call, for example.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Right. So you don't care if you lose?
No. You learn a lot, you know. Failure is just, I failed 50 times a day in the gym. Crash, and then until I could succeed.
This is why I love going to the gym, and this is why you should love going to the gym as well. It teaches you how to get past failure. You can't do the rep, you can't do the set, it's too heavy. You're consistently fighting and battling against something. And in return, in real life, whenever real obstacles come, it gives you that resilience ingrained in you on a subconscious level. You know that I can get past this because your brain starts to recall moments and when you couldn't do something in the gym and you were able to get over it after 2 months of trying. Do you see what I mean? Delayed gratification.
And so that was just a stepping stone for me.
Yeah, most people are deathly afraid of failing.
Yeah, what does it mean?
100%.
Their worth is based on how well they do. Maybe they project it in the eyes of their parents or friends or the world. But really, I recommend people, don't say I'm a gymnast, I'm a doctor, I'm an attorney. Say I practice law, I practice medicine, I practice gymnastics. Because then when you retire or you can't do it anymore for whatever reason, you practice something else. You don't have a sense of loss.
It's a good way of reframing it.
Yeah, exactly.
You remove your worth. I think ego gets in the way of just about everything. So you remove your ego from the situation. It allows you to get out of your own way.
The ego, I use my ego. I'm not trying to get rid of it. I'm trying to transcend it. There's a big difference. Getting rid of it, you might as well just have sit around drooling because there's no personality there. There's no you. But transcending it through insight and through humor, not taking yourself so seriously, that has benefits. So I use my ego, my personality level, to teach, to learn, and to serve.
Do you think most people take themselves and life too seriously?
Yes. People say, I'm so stressed out. That's not good for me. And I go, no, it's stress. It's part of life. I can tell people how to not be stressed.
Yeah.
Don't care about anything.
Right.
But that's not necessarily realistic advice, you know?
Yeah, you might get stressed about that too.
Exactly. I don't care about anything. Oh my God. But really, we do care. We're attached to people, things, ideas. Stress is just a part of our life. But really what's harmful is the tension that goes along with the stress. And the antidote I know of for stress, the best antidote, is to take a deep breath and relax the body. Can you imagine sitting around going, whoa, I'm so stressed today? You know?
What is it about the stories that we tell ourselves that you think impacts the person we become or the person we don't become?
Look, there's that famous story about this kid who was not very smart. I mean, he wasn't very good academically. He usually gets C's. And he wasn't good in sports. He was chosen last for most of the teams. And he wasn't actively disliked, but he just wasn't one of the popular kids either. But one thing he loved to do was to draw, this doodle. And when he was in high school, he submitted to the school paper one of his cartoons, and it was rejected. But he just kept doing it because he liked doing it. And he grew up pretty successful. He ended up coming up with this idea of called Peanuts. Charlie Brown, Lucy, you know, and $40 million a year, you know, he was making. Charles Schulz, whom I met. And many people, of course, they're going to go on the search. Now, what is perfect for me? And I don't know if there's any like perfect soulmate or perfect career. We can build a life with another person, even if they're not perfect. And maybe it is luck to some degree. I've been very lucky. And that's not modesty.
Yeah.
There are people who set out and work really hard to write a good book. It just doesn't click. And I happened to write my first book, and well, it failed actually out of the gate. And it wasn't until 3 years later that this old fellow was a retired publisher, read a copy, out of print copy, and went, I'm going back into publisher. And I'm starting with this book. It took him 2 years to get the book chains to take one copy in each store. So the point is, the road isn't that smooth all the time. There are bumps in the road. Once we overcome the inner battles with self-doubt, insecurity, and all those things, then the rest externally becomes easier.
Tell me about how you were feeling in that moment. So you put out your first book, you said it failed, and then someone comes out of nowhere, but what are you doing in the time frame from how it failed to...
Painting houses, I was working on...
You had given up on the book, though, at that point? Or...
Well, there was nothing to do with it. It was a failed hardback, and my agent said, just write another book.
Right.
But I didn't write another book for 10 years after Way of the Peaceful Warrior, because I really felt like I'd said what I had to say.
Yeah.
But then I met new influences in my life. I was so excited about new information, a flood of it, that I started writing, starting 1990, started writing a book every year or two. 18
Every
books,
year.
counting, you know. Yeah, over 40 years. Nothing lasts. Change comes at us in waves that we can't predict or control.
Yeah.
But we can learn to surf. And that's one of those life skills, learning to surf, kind of go with the flow. The martial art of Aikido teaches that. Go with the flow. Don't resist force with force. A larger life skill. And that's what I've tried to teach all these years. Practical life skills, not abstract philosophy, because we have enough to think about already.
That is interesting. How do you interpret that, I guess, for the person listening? Like, how do I go about my life, I guess, and I see things, bad things happening to me, good things have happened to me. What do I tell myself in those situations? Just keep going, keep serving, keep making life about more than just you? Is that sort of the understanding?
Well, you just said it. The happiest people I know are focused on other people, on a service, on good work, on whatever their career is, rather than on themselves, because the search only reinforces the sense of dilemma that sends us seeking in the first place. Like, what is this about not enoughness? I think we need to be satisfied with this present moment, and yet we can still strive to improve, and that's part of human nature, but not from a place of want or lack or deficit.
Talked earlier about the younger person not coming out of college or university knowing exactly who they are, figuring their life out. They got to go through it. How do you recommend, you're 79, if you're looking back, how would you recommend someone at that stage in their life finds what they want to do and finds who they want to be?
People have to trust the process of their life unfolding. Even the bad
That's
parts
deep.
are help to prepare them and strengthen their spirits, temper their spirits. The so-called bad parts. You've heard the metaphor that we're like cars driving at night. You can only see as far as the headlight beam, but you can make the whole journey that way. I believe we're hardwired goal seekers, Will. There's a scene in the Peaceful Warrior movie where Dan and Socrates go up this big hill, hike up this hill, and Dan has this revelation. He says, Soc, you know, it's not the destination that makes us happy, it's the journey.
It's the journey.
Well, there's some truth in that, because most of our lives are spent on the journey.
100%.
But without a destination in mind, there is no journey. We just wander around. So from our point A, we need a point B. To feel absorbed, to feel in the flow, I think we need a goal. And I would define success as making progress toward a meaningful goal. In one of my books, The Four Purposes of Life, I define the difference between a career and a calling. And it's easy to tell the difference. If you won the lottery, would you keep doing it?
Yeah.
And then it's a calling as well.
So you're married.
Yeah, Joy and I will celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary this year.
Congratulations in advance. What is it like to go 50 years in a, I'm assuming, obviously happy relationship, happy marriage? A lot of marriages, relationships don't last a fraction of that time. What do you think has been a good contributor of success for you guys?
Well, first of all, I was married at 21 to a woman, and that lasted 8 years. And that was out of sheer stubbornness. It shouldn't have lasted that long. I wrote in one of my books, I cried on my wedding night. I mean, something was off.
Wow.
But, so
Guys, do you know how deep that is to cry at your wedding night, knowing something's off, and still be forced to go through with it because you don't want to let her down, her family, everybody? Oof.
I cried on my wedding night. I mean, something was off. But, so I've looked at life on both sides. I've been divorced. I've been in an unhappy marriage. But Joy and I, after 50 years, you build a relationship, and we've gone through so much together. Had our ups and downs, but basically, I just got lucky the second time around.
What was a big lesson you learned from the first marriage and the reason why it maybe didn't work out?
Good question.
To be honest with myself and the other person I'm with.
You didn't feel that you were at that point?
No, I was being too idealistic, and I mean, if I had been honest, I would have probably ended it at the start. Socrates, he once said, by all means marry. He said, if you choose well, you'll be happy. If you don't, you'll become a philosopher.
Wow.
I love that.
Isn't it?
Can you define the word love for me?
Love is an emotion.
Good question.
Is fickle. You know, somebody came up to me after a seminar and said, Dan, I feel so inspired. I said, don't worry, it'll pass. Because inspiration comes and goes, motivation waxes and wanes, and
Discipline
love
stays, huh?
is a feeling, comes and goes. All of us know that. There are moments we just feel so much love for the people we're with, or somebody, a child, a spouse. Other times not, because we're angry, or because we're afraid, or because we're sad. So feelings change all the time. So trying to define love as a feeling, you know, I can love an ice cream cone, I can love a person. It's all different kinds of love. But to me, the most meaningful definition of love is a behavior. Loving kindness. Behaving with loving kindness. Whether or not we actually feel loving in that moment. That's unreasonable. But that to me is a transcendent kind of love, a more realistic kind of love in terms of how we behave in life. And in the same breath, happiness as a feeling is something that comes and goes. It's never going to be forever. If we were happy,
I agree. 100% happiness. It goes in waves. To be honest with you, so sometimes you just, as a young man, you kind of have to, as a young man or old man, I believe you have to put happiness aside and do what's right, aka discipline. I'm not happy to work out, like I said, to go to the gym, but I still do it. I'm not happy to do X, Y, and Z, but I still do it. So there are rules that you put in place that, okay, I must get this done if I want to get ahead. And I believe that's what winners truly do. Because winners don't have time to say, oh, well, I'm tired, I'm this. Oh, my boss has said this, I'm not going into work. It's like, okay, who's going to put food on the table? Who's going to feed? Do you see what I mean? So nobody's coming to save you. Get stuff done ASAP. I want to see some of the comment section. The young guy doing all this interview is such a smart young man. He is acquiring a lot of wisdom. Thank you for creating this type of content. Very true. I really like this type of content. If you guys want to see me do this in the UK, let me know. I will happily go around and do this as well. I would define success as progress. Deep. When he said that was absolutely deep. I've heard somebody say, I think it was Earl Nightingale, that says success is a progression of a worthy ideal. So keep that in your arsenal as well, because that's very, very good. But yeah, so far this is top notch. This is one you fool, the sharp 79. Yeah, I absolutely love this interview. Thank you. Yeah, the comments are saying the exact same thing that we're saying. Okay, but I don't want to drag this out too much. Look, I'm gonna say this once and for all. Nobody's coming to save you. Everything that the gentleman 79 years old has acquired has been because he took it upon himself to make sure I need to get things done. He's a multi-millionaire. We don't know his exact net worth, but we know to be able to achieve something like that, it's not easy. It requires discipline. 50-year marriage. We know in order to achieve something like that, it's not easy. It requires discipline. So what are you waiting for? Are you leaning towards the side of motivation, or are you going to finally change and adopt discipline? Like the video.